Imagine walking into a bank with nothing but pride in your heart and a check in your hand. Money you've rightfully earned. Now imagine the teller taking one look at you and ripping it in half. That's exactly what happened to one black veteran. But what the teller didn't know was who he truly was, and the truth would come crashing down in a way they'd never forget. Stay with me, because this story isn't just about one man. It's about respect, dignity, and a life-changing lesson that shook an entire bank to its core. Backhand index pointing right before we dive in. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories that remind us all of the value of respect. James stepped up to the counter with his check. It wasn't a small amount. This was part of his military pension, money he had rightfully earned through years of service. The teller, a young woman named Claire, looked at him with raised eyebrows. She glanced at the check, then at James, then back at the check again. "Sir, this looks suspicious," she said flatly. James smiled politely, trying to ease the tension. "It's my pension check. You can verify it." But Claire didn't even try. Instead, she smirked, rolled her eyes, and whispered under her breath, loud enough for James to hear, "Yeah, sure. People like you always come in with fake checks." James froze. He knew what she meant by people like you. Still, he kept his composure. "Ma'am, I assure you it's legitimate. You can call to verify." But Claire didn't verify. She didn't even check the system. Instead, in a shocking act of arrogance, she took the check and tore it right down the middle. The sound of paper ripping cut through the silent bank lobby. Everyone around turned to look. James stood still, his face calm, but his heart pounding. That check was weeks of his survival. And more importantly, her act wasn't just disrespect. It was humiliation. Claire tossed the torn pieces in the trash and said coldly, "Next customer." Now, here's where most people would have exploded in anger. But not James. Veterans are trained to stay calm under pressure, and he did exactly that. He simply looked her in the eyes and said one line that sent chills down her spine. "You just made a mistake you'll never forget." With that, James walked out. Claire smirked, thinking she had handled a potential scammer. But little did she know, James Carter was no ordinary man. The next morning, James returned to the bank. But this time, he wasn't alone. Two men in suits flanked him as he entered, both high-ranking officials from the local Veterans Affairs office. Behind them walked a man everyone in town recognized, the mayor. And trailing last, dressed in his polished uniform full of medals, was James himself. The entire bank lobby froze. James stepped forward calmly, addressing the branch manager. "Yesterday, I came here as a customer. I left here humiliated. Today, I return as who I really am, a veteran who served this country for over 25 years. I came not for vengeance, but for respect. Not just for me, but for every man and woman who has worn this uniform." The manager's face turned pale. He immediately apologized, but James raised a hand to silence him. "I don't want apologies," James said firmly. "I want change." Claire, the teller, stood frozen behind her counter, her face drained of color. Everyone now knew what she had done, not to a random man, but to a decorated soldier who had risked his life for their freedom. The Veterans Affairs officials spoke up. "Mr. Carter has given his life to this nation. What he experienced here yesterday was unacceptable. We expect this bank to review its policies, retrain its staff, and ensure this never happens again." The mayor added, "And as for this particular teller, there must be accountability." Claire was immediately suspended. Later, she was terminated not just for tearing up the check, but for violating customer trust and showing blatant prejudice. But James? He didn't gloat. He didn't smile at her downfall. Instead, he turned to the stunned crowd and said something that silenced the entire room. "I didn't come here to destroy someone's career. I came here to remind everyone that respect should not depend on skin color, uniform, or status. It should be given to every single person who walks through those doors. I served this country because I believed in that principle, and I still do." With that, James picked up his newly reissued check, handled with the utmost respect this time, and walked out of the bank, his head held high. That day, the bank learned a lesson the hard way. You never know who you're disrespecting. Behind every face is a story. Behind every person is a history you cannot see. For James Carter, it wasn't just about a check. It was about dignity. And in the end, he didn't just win his respect. He made sure no one else would face the same humiliation. Backhand index pointing right if you believe veterans and every human being deserve respect. Smash that like button, share this story with your friends, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons. Because sometimes the smallest actions, like tearing a piece of paper, carry the biggest consequences.